I'm not going to swear to it, believe we are. Tim, how we looking? I know Chuck is off and wandering on his vacation. I'm not sure what that is. Some word that I hear thrown around occasionally, but not completely familiar with it. There we go. Let's see, Steve's first official online Twitch game is just a few weeks away, October 13th at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. Stream on this channel. Make sure you stop by to watch the slaughter and join some awesome giveaways. There you go. Could be a little louder, but good. Alright, so the volume, that should make it louder in theory. How's that, Mark? That any better? Horn. Game. I'm not sure what you're doing there, Tim, but carry on. It probably will not be a slaughter. Who can tell? I'm not a huge fan of TPK, so unless something goes horribly wrong, it should be all fine. That said, the Darkened Fold is a dangerous, dangerous place. How's it going, Pete? I'm listening to some slightly alternative off-the-wall Korean stuff. I'm not quite sure how that happened. Yeah, that music is just pure awesome. I absolutely love that. I think I've closed that window. Oh, here she is. So I had this on loop all day while I was working on Gaxmore. Great stuff. Weird stuff. Just interesting. So give it a whirl again. Can Twitch support 21 players at once? I doubt it. I don't think I could do a video game of 21 people at once. I kind of feed off of the players, so it's, just looking at cameras, it's a little tougher. How's it going, Daniel? Or does TPK then tell them they wake from a dream? Yeah, no dream sequences. Did that twice that I can remember back in the long ago days. Didn't care for the aftertaste of the whole dream sequence. It was not cool. Left everyone wanting. And then, it's just never good. It's never good. I think I should talk about that in one of those tricks of the trade somewhere. It's just not good. Only Newhart. Yes, that's true. Tim is spot on. The only time that dream sequence crap has ever worked was with the Bob Newhart show. If you're familiar with it, he had two different TV shows. One in the 70s, I guess, and then one later in the 80s. And the one in the 80s ended with his character from the 70s waking up and saying to his wife, "I had the strangest dream." That was awesome. Whoever came up with that series finale was a genius. They probably should have worked on the Seinfeld finale and some of the other finales. Quick question: does helmet count to main AC? It does not. It only counts if you are, if you have armor class. If you're playing such a game that you do call shots and stuff like that, and the blow lands on the head. So the AC does not add to it. I'm not sure why we did that. I think it's just kind of, you're wearing plate mail, and that's your whole AC. Leave it up to the CK how much detail they want to throw in today. St. Elsewhere did something similar. Everything that had taken place in the Autistic Kid Snow Globe. Oh, good grief. I did not know that. Wow. Didn't Lost do... I never finished Lost. I got through season 3 or 4. I can't remember how many seasons. I thought it was 6 seasons. I think Lost did a dream sequence, I think. There was a blonde. In the Newhart show, I'm not sure. Harmony. How's it going, 42? Yeah. We never want to let Chuck know that he's right. That's never a good thing. We don't want that to go to his head, so. Poor old Chuck. I don't even know where he is. He's wandered off somewhere. He wisely did not tell us where he was taking his vacation, so Tim and we can't hound him across the country asking him ridiculous questions about Twitch and whatever else is. I can't get my camera where I like it. There you go. Well, we are here for GM's Tricks of the Trade. Something. I don't know. We're doing what are we calling this, Tim? A revisit or something? I don't know. We're visiting Tricks of the Trade from early on, August 10th, 2018. This was the second Trick of the Trade. One of the things that Chuck and Tim want to do is get a video record of all the Tricks of the Trade. And since we didn't start streaming until like trick 23 or something, I don't know. 63, it is a dive in the archives. And since we didn't start streaming until like 23 or 25, 6, whatever, there's a whole bunch of them that don't have video. That we didn't do on Twitch, obviously. So we're going to slowly kind of make that up and just do it in order. So we're hitting the second one from August 10th. There I go, yawning again. I choked that one down pretty good. How's it going, Big Danger? We had a DM who ran a campaign that turned out to be a dream, a.k.a. Dallas. We almost killed him for that. I don't blame you. Yeah, the dream sequence never works. I think we were like 8th level when I had him do it, when I had to kind of just erase the whole thing. And I can't really remember what was in the game. Something about Ariok and Gods and Greyhawk and I don't know, there's all kinds of crap. But it fell flat and the adventure, it just was a mess. And so I just made the whole thing a dream sequence. No one was happy. no one was happy. And I know I did it a second time, and after the second time, the result was the same. And so we just quit. We just never did it again. So dreams and RPGs are dangerous. In general, players remember stuff and then expect to come true or something. Oh, yeah. Players are, I don't know, of course I'm a player too, but players are interesting because, I don't know, I was running a game 3 weeks ago or so in a small little town, and I was down playing NPCs, and they were encountering quite a few of them because it's a village adventure. I'm trying to kind of break out of my normal overland stuff and get into more villages and see if we can't make that more fun for me and everybody. But man, every single NPC they met, they instantly suspected was trying to rip them off, sneak around them, steal stuff. I don't know. It was just absolutely crazy. I had to give quite a lecture about people are just people. Just let it go. I would rather counter that a dream-based session would be really great to give a player wanting to attempt DMing for the first time a chance, or a one-shot if the group is missing enough people for that session. You know, you can do dreams. I think you're right, 42. I've done a few dream sequence adventures. That's actually where the Dreaming Sea in the World of Aird came from. I developed that because I wanted to have this very, very ethereal is the word that comes to mind, but surreal, that's the word I'm looking for. A very surreal adventure where things just don't make sense and don't line up, and it's not chaos as we sometimes perceive it, but rather just, like a dream. Things don't completely add up. And from those early adventures that I did, in fact, I think part of it was inspired by a set of miniatures. They might have been called Dream Warriors. I can't remember. They were Mist Warriors. I don't know. They were kind of misty. Their legs were kind of misty, and then they formed into these with plate mail and helms and armed weapons and stuff. But the dream sequence that they were going into, that was part of the adventure. That was what they were doing. It wasn't me saying, hey, this whole thing was a dream. You guys wake up back in your cots. Which I think what you're saying, there's a world of difference between the two. So there you go. See, now that $100 is pretty cool. As in, you're making the dreams actually have an impact on your game. And that's cool because that's a type of magic. I wrote up a spell for, I think the Player's Handbook might be in the Adventurer's Backpack that does that. It's dream. But to do that, of course, to bring dreams into your game, you really got to get into the players' motivations and what the players want and don't want and things that they might actually dream as opposed to just throwing random crap, like one of my weird-ass music videos that I listen to that make no sense on any level. I mentioned this late on Tuesday to do a GMTT in October about tips to bring horror into your... Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. I'm going to add that to my list. I'm trying to get... I don't think you can see it. No, you can't see it on my whiteboard back there. I have a list of just getting ahead on things because I'm always behind on GM's Tricks of the Trade. And I want to get Chuck and Tim this stuff months in advance. So let me open. That's a great idea. If I can find my stupid little. There we go. I was compiling subjects the other day. What do we got here? There you go. Perfect. Thanks, Vic. That's perfect. And anytime you guys can think of tricks that you'd like me to discuss, things, even questions on how I might handle stuff, or and then we can throw it out here to the group, of course, and we all discuss it. That would be good. Subjects are always good. I think the tricks of the trade I enjoy the most are like the ones we're going to do today. They're just kind of random things that I do at the table that's not thematically based, but are just kind of how to propel things forward or whatever. Those I like. The thematic ones are really good, no doubt. But anytime I'm writing like one on the NPCs, it kind of gives birth to more. And I probably could do 100 tricks of the trade on NPCs alone, because it's such a huge part of my game. But then it gets kind of, it bogs down after a while, and you don't want to read 14 pages of crap on NPCs. So how's it going, Retro Gamer? 42, it keeps it self-contained, and in the case of a new DM, any mistakes or effects of the dream, and also allows for more creative event or different genres. It definitely does all of that. It definitely, I mean, if you were to use a dream sequence to start your game out so that the players are on this ethereal plane or whatever, you could definitely, it gives you tons of wiggle room. Absolutely tons of wiggle room. And it would be like a Piers Anthony novel, that there's just magic everywhere. That's kind of I know he's kind of on the outs these days, but his literature, his stories are really good, really creative, and very magical. There's so much going on in a Piers Anthony novel that it just brings the magic into it. And I think that's one of the things my game specifically suffers from is magic. I don't bring magic in nearly enough in a game where magic is like 1/2 of all the classes and crap. I'll forget about it. 2 or 3 games will pass, and we're just mired in castle descriptions and, orc encounters or a hunt or something like that. And suddenly I'm thinking, oh, wait a minute, I need to have some kind of magic here somewhere. Without a doubt, dreams will bring that to the table. Hey, Caboso, I don't know how to say that name. I don't know how to pronounce that one. How's it going, man? Horror topic would be week before end of October. Hey, that's a great idea, 42. We got Halloween coming up. I don't think we're doing a special. Last year we did the hangman, I think, the hangman tree or something. With this beautiful, absolutely astounding cover. We're just going to kind of roll that one out because Davis is so busy with the NPC Almanac that we haven't actually dove into any thematic adventures this year. Eventually we'll get to that point that we do it, but not this year. I love it. If your table is having fun, then a little magic is awesome. Yeah, but you want to have some. you got to have some. Tainted Lands revival game for Halloween. There you go. I love Tainted Lands, and it's actually got, the Lollygag Inn and Tavern is one of my favorite inns and taverns I've ever seen in fantasy role-playing games. Jim Ward, of course, made that, and it's just absolutely, it's awesome. The name alone is awesome. Tainted Lands is a really good box set. We haven't had it in print for a while. I know it's on Jason Vay's desk of things to do, so there you go. See if Jim wants to scare people. Jim is very good at that. He is very good at that. How's it going, Mr. Obadiah? There you go. I'm glad it's beautiful there. We got a little bit of rain here, but I like the rain. I like the sun. I like just about any of it. So it's all good to me. Bah, Halloween this year is a Saturday night, and the clocks change at night, so an extra hour. This is still, it's going to be a mess. Everyone should just go as a giant virus or something. I don't know. Some kind of bacteria chase each other. Some people can go as a vaccine. Some people can go as a bacteria. Some can go as treatment protocols. Who knows? We can do this gigantic themed Halloween that'll just remind everyone that we're in a pandemic and everyone's going to be pissed off. So there you go. There's a full moon across all 4 times. There you go. That just kind of wraps it up. That just wraps it up. That is true. Sometimes Kabosh, I don't know how to say your name. I'm just going to pronounce it differently every time. But we are here for GM's Tricks of the Trade. We are revisiting the second trick of the trade that rolled out on August 10th. It's the second group of 5, I should say, that rolled out on August 10th, 2018. I still can't believe we're doing these things, well, I guess over 2 years now. That's pretty cool. It was real slow at the beginning. We didn't do that many, and there was a lot of breaks. I don't think until about a year ago did I get kind of pretty into the routine of it. But at any rate, so we're going to revisit some of the old ones. This is... I don't know. I had something to say, and then it rolled around into my head when I looked at my text over here. I'm having to remember all of this crap. And Chuck pre-did us some panels, so we're good to go. So without further ado, let's further ado something. First, I want to thank everybody for showing up and for following us. And if you haven't yet, please give us a follow. Spread the word about the Troll Twitch channel. We all kinds of stuff going on. Haunted Holler paintings on Wednesdays, GM Tricks of the Trade on Thursdays. I'll be running a game on the 13th of October. Hopefully this is the first of many games that I start running here on Twitch. And we'll just get more. We're going to be building this channel more and more. We're even talking about little intro videos and outro videos, all kinds of, it's going to be a lot of fun. So give us a follow if you haven't and spread the word. Without further ado, we will now dive into Tricks of the Trade, revisiting whatever they are. See, I used to have a title for them, but the early ones didn't have a title. They were just jumbled thoughts that I hurled out upon the screen. So the first trick of the trade, and this one is this was an interesting one because I see GMs do this all the time. I certainly have done it before, and I still do it now. And when I catch myself, I try to stop, which is basically dominating the table with long descriptions of the background of the adventure itself, the town or dungeon, the NPCs, the terrain, the world. You get into its weather, you get into cultural things and languages and all of this other goobly-goop. Well, you just listen to yourself, apparently. and ironically, that's literally what I'm talking about right now. It's talking too much. But there's no one else here, so it's going to have to be me. But, yeah, I mean, it's dominating the table with just an insane amount of jibber-jabber. What you really want to do is engage the players on whatever level you can think of so that they should be talking more than you. You shouldn't be doing dominating. They should be role-playing, describing characters, laying out plans, telling you what they think's going on or what they're going to do, or whatever. It really shouldn't be a 4-hour session where 3 hours is the GM just describing stuff, especially in the opening segment of the game. You really want to keep that. I know I've talked about this in other Tricks of the Trade. You want to keep your opening segment short, about 3 minutes. Get right into it. And then feed them the information you want them as the game either progresses or they're actually developing their characters and what have you. I've been told that I provide too much minor details about a scene or person. I need to keep them short or been a work in progress. I'm the same way, 42. That's the way I used to be. Davis is that way. Chris Harris, he runs games for us. He sits at our table and sometimes he runs. He is a spectacular game master. Absolutely love playing these games. But he really gets into the story. He really, really gets into the story, and he'll spend a good 20, 25 minutes talking about the story. And most players, they're going to give you about 10 minutes or so before they start checking out, and they're not listening to you anymore because they're. And it's not a rude thing. It's really they're looking at their characters. What you're saying doesn't particularly pertain to them or interest them, so they end up looking at other stuff and whatever. And so a lot of what you've said just kind of fizzles off into nothing. To be clear, do I just listen to myself or the other voices in my head too? Yeah, there you go. try to tamp down both the voices in your head and those that are speaking. Just keep it short. Keep your description short and engage the players a lot with questions. And it'll take, if your players are shy, it might take a little while, but they'll learn quickly kind of how to fill that gap, that silence, and start playing more. And the cool thing about that, once you've kind of engaged players, they'll start feeding into your game and feeding into your setting and your campaign and everything. And then you will start data mining them from just in what they say and in ideas and the way something might come out that you had thought maybe it's going to do this. Well, now this is a better idea. So the more you get them playing, the more it'll fuel your imagination. It's just a good thing all the way around. Such a good piece of advice, Stephen. I'm guilty of being a bit of an over-talker in our new linear stream. I needed this reminder. Thanks, Chat Skills. I think we all do. I mean, I think as GMs, we tend to do that. We tend to, we sit at home and wherever you do your process, you imagine all of this stuff and you create these NPCs and this world and this village, and in your head you can see it down to the cobbles and the well, and all of these little details are super important to you because they've fleshed out that moment that you want to, cast out. But players don't care about the cobbles beneath the well. They want to get whatever, and they've got their own characters, right, that they are actually focused on. So there's this huge balance, and I think that what I try to do, and like I said, I don't always succeed, and clearly, Chad, I'm not alone. What I try to do is weave it in. Whatever, all the background crap that I have, I try to weave it in slowly over time, not give them the complete description up front, but give them a little bit, what they can see maybe, or what they can feel, and then flesh it out after that. But it is, and it's easy to slip back into it because if your players don't respond or don't roleplay a lot, that silence can be deafening, and you just start filling it with noise, which sadly is probably your voice. I've been told that in-depth description or one of my tells, usually I am pretty brief. I knew the king was going to kill us when you started describing the tapestry, said the blood pudding. McKee, that's not good, does it? They figured you out. That's funny. As soon as the DM describes shit, you're in trouble. That's great. But that blood pudding, Mount, I am trying to get into the habit of giving players some more input into what they are seeing, particularly if it is their home village or tavern, etc. Yeah, now that's a great idea. If you can actually get them to kind of, and it's a learned process for players too. If you can get them to, describe things as well, and God, I feel like this beard is greasy, or this half beard that I got going on is driving me. It's driving me crazy. I should have shaved today. But if you can get them to actually dive into your descriptions as well, without going absolutely batshit crazy, sometimes players add stuff to your world that you don't need. Juan, how's it going, Greenlington, or anything like that? So if you can tap that down, you're good. Tim, what is this? What is this horn you keep putting up? I don't know what that is. They know the thing. It's good. I mean, it's good. It's just a good way to get them all to build a game, I think. All right, so let's meander on to Trick of the Trade number 2. Like I said earlier, the early ones had no thematic elements. They were just thoughts that I had that I threw out there, and it is the way I get the adverts to go out. Okay, all right, sounds good. I didn't know if that was a raffle or something we were doing. So these early Tricks of the Trade were just the random thoughts that I had tossed down. So you can always sometimes give detailed descriptions of inconsequential things to hide your tells. Yeah, there you go. Now you can just mess them up. You just start giving more descriptions until they don't know what the hell is going on. But it's okay if the players figure your tell out, figure out your habits and whatnot, because in a way that's really good. I mean, I know what I got 5 players at the table, sometimes 6, depending on whose wives are there. About 2 of them, they and Mac in particular, they know the tone of my voice. We've been gaming together since 1985, so they know even the tone of my voice. Mac certainly does. Shifts if danger Will Robinson is coming down the pipe, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, because then that actually helps the GM out a lot, in that it preps them for what's coming, or it maybe shifts what they're doing so that they don't get killed or what have you. It's not a bad thing for players to figure you out. I find the older I get, I like to wing it, letting the players do the work. That's at the stage. Yeah, Green. Sometimes when long role playing sessions happen now, I'm very happy because I don't have to do anything. I just sit there behind the screens and snooze away. I love to do roles behind screen and give them visual or audio input to force them to make decisions as close to how it would be if they were there. It is a bit hard through, though sometimes as my descriptions can lead them to feel betrayed when they realize that the click within the lock that sounded like the final tumbler locking was actually the poison dart sliding into place. Yeah, but that's okay too, because life's like that, isn't it? I mean, you're doing whatever the hell it is you're doing, and something just didn't work. You shift it a little bit, and you hit the curve, and you got a flat. I mean, you expect things and it doesn't work out. And I think that's probably the most valuable lesson any Homo sapien can learn, that it's not going to turn out how you want it to, and just be okay with that. It's okay. Fix it later or then or whatever. Just save yourself mountains of frustration. Let's see. So this next one is attribute checks. I guess this one's a little bit. I thought I did. Yeah, that's right. That's number 4. Okay, so this one's a little bit centric to Castles and Crusades. I'm really not certain if Swords and Wizardry and Dungeon Crawl Classics have attribute checks. I know that 5th edition has attribute checks. I can't even remember if AD&D. I think that came late in the game for AD&D with the Dungeoneer Survival Guide and the Wilderness Survival Guide. Is that right? I think that's when the attribute checks kind of landed then. yeah, Chibos. It's just not going to work out, and it's okay. Just let it go. Let's see, Commander Pete. Yeah, but once you put effort describing something, and the players get all excited, don't you start thinking, well, now I want to make it. Well, yeah, sometimes. I've been there many times. Well, that turned out cooler than I thought it was. But that's sort of the winging it thing, isn't it? I mean, that's what you got to do as a GM. You really got to just kind of go with. That's one of the things I wanted to do in a GM's Trick of the Trade I don't even know how you do this, is to talk about how I wing it. I don't even know how I do it, but winging it as a DM as a GM, CK, whatever, is crazy important. Just start rolling the dice and clucking with your tongue. They won't care about the blood pudding. There you go. See, I agree with that, Green. Sometimes I just ask the players to describe stuff, especially if they have the nerve to ask me NPC's name that I don't have. Man, I'm gonna redo the CNC screens and just have 5,000 names on them. That's really all I need up there is names. Black Hat uses attribute checks. Yeah, so I'm not sure. So on to Trick of the Trade 2. I'm not sure what a lot of other games use, but in Castles and Crusades, which obviously is my game of choice, attribute checks run the game, and I have them roll attribute checks all the time. Even if I see them, even if they're not, I don't need them to roll an attribute check. If I see their little board, I'll use it. I'll throw it out there. Hey, Todd, give me an attribute check. Give me a wisdom check. And that at least perks him up and makes him pay attention. It brings him back to the table. And plus, at the end of the day, everybody loves to roll dice. It's the only actual physical thing that we do at the table. It's the only exercise we get, I suppose. So the more dice you're rolling, the better off you are. It's just all around a good idea is to have them make as many attribute checks. Is not obviously overload your game with it, but make a lot of attribute checks. And it doesn't. And even if there's a fail on one, they have them roll it again. I mean, frequently when I have them crossing rivers, which is one of my favorite things to do, it'll be 5 or 6 attribute checks. The first failed attribute check isn't someone drowning; it's them getting pulled down the current, and they've lost a little bit of their momentum. So they got to do this, and maybe they do another dexterity check at a -1 or whatever it is, until they go under and drown, or get across the river. So attribute checks it's just a great way of doing it. It's a great way of engaging the players, and it's a great way of just keeping the whole flow, keeping people interested, bringing them back from the brink of boredom, whatever it is. And of course, at the end of the day, it gives them a greater command over their characters because they get to do something. You're not just telling them something happens. They get to do something, and that kind of plays into number 1, where you're not constantly doing a frame of what's going on and what's happening with your characters. Let's see. What are we doing? I made a screen recently. The last page was just a list of names of people, places, items. Yeah, it really... Names drive me crazy, and it is especially that village game I was telling you about a few minutes ago. I ran that village game 3 or 4 weeks ago, and good God, there's 8 million NPCs that I got to come up with a name with immediately. Yes, Mark, absolutely. I got that book. For those of you who do not know what Mark is talking about, it's Gary Gygax's Extraordinary Book of Names. We put this out in 04, is that right? 2004. It is the best book of names I've ever seen. Name book, I should say. It's just a fantastic book. If you can get it aftermarket, I don't think you can anymore. I think it's like $400 or some crazy stuff. Definitely pick yourself up a copy, or a coffee too if you need one set of 6 reps, roll those dice. Attribute checks was our default in OD&D and in 1E AD&D. Still is. Yeah, I vaguely remember that they did it different though, didn't they? You had, so if I had a 15 Constitution in AD&D and I rolled an attribute check, I made it on a 1 to 15. I believe that's how they did it. You never got better at it. It was just who you were, and this was your check. And I always liked that system, to be honest with you. It made a lot of sense to me. If you have a 15 con, you're in pretty good health, you have a decent chance of making it. So I liked AD&Ds. I really did. I'm a big fan of AD&D. It was a fun game. I haven't played in years, but it was a fun game. I always give players and their PC stuff to do. They'll stay engaged and love the game. Always. Yeah. It's one of those things that, it's a theme through all these tricks. Is engaging them at the table, because you don't want to lose them. As soon as you lose them, especially in today's world with this crazy thing, and you're just all over the place. You've lost your table. You might as well go watch Dune on TV. I had the book with Within Reach Respect, Steve. Yeah, I've got a whole drawer of crap over here that I use a lot, and of course it's in the cabinet of holding. Yeah, it's got. I think everything but Insidia is in here. I need to get Insidia. No, there's Insidia. There you go. Insidia is a good book. It's a great series. The Gygaxian Fantasy World series. It's really it's a damn shame that it's not in print anymore. Both obviously for TLG reasons, and for Gary's legacy reasons. But for us, for just the gamers, for those of us just down in the trenches that play games and we don't care about the rest of it, the GFW series, especially books. Canton Crew was good. Living Fantasy was fantastic. I love Living Fantasy. The World Builder, absolutely spectacular book. That was book 2. Living Fantasy was 3. This is book 4, I think, isn't it? Yes, book 4, Book of Names, and then Insidia, book 5. All just really great books that do nothing but help gameplay. Now, after that, the books are still good after that, but they're not as good as these first 5. It's just a good series. If you can get it, snatch it. When everyone's CNC, I usually have the players describe what they were doing and then negotiate to convince me that one of their prime stats is the one they should get to. Oh, that's kind of interesting, McKee. That's kind of interesting. I throw primes all over the place. I mean, I throw attribute checks all over the place. I'll have a wizard make an intelligence check to swim the river. I'll have a thief make a dexterity check. I'm all over the place with my attributes. Sometimes I justify it, sometimes I don't. And there's a good OGL section in Gygax names, too. Yeah. No, the Book of Names is just it's just a good book. We always did roll your attribute or below, though it might not have been the rule. I think that is the rule. I think it is. That's in my head, Mark. I think you and I are on the same sheet of music there. Stars Without Number was an excellent set of name tables in it. I'll have to check that out because I need some names. I need something. Really, I need like an iPad or whatever, or tablet, whatever they're called, behind the screen so I can just look up a name real quick because it's exhausting. It's exhausting trying to figure out, and they're always named Bob or Otto, and it's just ridiculous. Attribute checks also help to re-solidify the difference between player knowledge and character knowledge. Players will often neglect or forget that their badass dwarf has an intelligence of 7 and has trouble spelling his own name with flashcards, but suggest highly tactical solutions. Attribute checks kind of gently remind them of what they are and are not good at, allowing other players to fill deficiencies outside of combat. That's a fantastic paragraph right there. And and it's hard. I don't think anyone ever does it intentionally when they make their character smarter than their character actually would be. It's hard to play a dumbass, especially when your life is on the line, right? When you kind of instinctively know what you're supposed to do, but your character probably wouldn't. It's tough to squash that and watch everyone die around you. So it's perfectly natural. And the attribute checks, like you say, circumvent that quite nicely. How do you handle traps in your games? Ability check wise. Generally speaking, it's usually a dexterity check, but it's also kind of a knowledge base too. So if there's a trap in the woods and a ranger or a druid or anyone with like woodsman experiences, that's almost definitely going to be a wisdom or their prime attribute, whichever one I choose. Because the rangers, of course, is strength. And so I try to give them an edge on traps. I'm not a big fan of traps. Traps are one of those things. It's kind of a, it's a non-glory. There's no glory in dying via a trap. It's just horrible. You're walking along and you're dead. So you didn't get a chance to pull your sword or, even run away. You just fell into the trap and then you're dead or crippled or whatever. So I try to get when I do traps or when I'm running an adventure or dungeon or what have you that has traps, I try to always kind of lean it a little bit in their favor because I don't really want the game to end so ingloriously with them just sprawled at the bottom of a pit with a spike through their mouth. I watched that. What was that movie came out not long ago about the conservatives and the liberals? The liberals were hunting the conservatives. I can't remember the name of it. It's a great movie. It's not what it was billed as on the idiot press corps. Go watch the movie. It's very good. It's got a great underlying message, which is basically everybody's overreacting. It's this fantastic message in this really fun movie. And it was really just, icing on the cake that the main character there is from Arkansas, which was just cool. So anytime there's Arkansas in any movie or song or whatever, I'm there. I'm good to go. But yeah, so I try to do green when I do that, when I do traps, I try to lean in their favor a little bit so they have a better chance to get through it. I don't mind characters dying. I don't mind killing characters, but I don't like to do it ingloriously because it just no one's happy with that. You know what I mean? It's not fun unless you're in that type of an adventure where that is part of what's happening. When I was a kid, the GM once just went to screw it and every NPC called hands. Yeah, there were so many autos in my game, Commander Pete. It was ridiculous. I don't even know where Otto came from. I probably had read about a biography on Otto the Great, and that it just stuck in my head there forever. How's it going, Clever? I've used both tablet and phone for quick random names. Very helpful. Yeah, that's what I gotta do. I gotta get something. I'm not good on the phone. I can't. It takes me forever. So if I think I had the tablet open with stuff on there. Speaking of which, Tim and I are talking all the time about doing a TLG tablet where when you buy this tablet, it'll have everything on it. We're super kind of pumped about that concept of doing it. So maybe in the future we'll see a big ass TLG tablet with all this crap on it. The name problem was the worst in my Tecumul, how do you say that game? Because I can't just make those names up on the fly. I give tempo and listen to names. Yeah, but even a lot of names made on the fly are not cool. You end up with this string of consonants together that makes no sense. That, Feeklaplok or whatever, Beagle Boogle Bob. It's not a name. There's no one's going to name their son Feeklaplop. Just stop it. So it's best to find something, a culture that you're happy with, and whether it's ancient Egyptian or Scottish, and just get a list of their names and go with it. For the names I've printed, Otto, they know he's not important. You should totally exploit them. There you go. Put a real Otto into the game. There you go. I love it. For the names I've printed, cheat off 10 to 20 names. Yeah, that's a good idea. Well, it keeps rolling away from... I can't read all this. Let's see. Traps are better as something to interact with than instant kill puzzles or multi-skill checks to bypass. Yeah, now those are cool if you got players that like that. A couple of my players love that stuff. Me as a player, I'm not a big fan of that. So, yeah, but it is. I mean, you can engage. I know when I worked a lot with Rob Kuntz and even Gary back in the day, they love that type of stuff. Rob Kuntz really loved that type of stuff. Stephen, what advice do you have about making important, necessary information or discoveries in the adventure dependent on attribute checks? How do you make sure failed checks do not? Yeah, not at all. I'll do it, but it's rare. And if I do that, because I've been down that road so many times where they fail the attribute check, and as a GM, I'm stuck. I got to figure out, some surreptitious way to get this information or to get the game going again. So what I will do, if I want it to be a check, I'll make certain that at least 3 of the players are going to make a check, and in C&C it's going to be on their prime. It's one of those things I try to never give one player the information that they discovered from the bartender or whatever. I want 2 or 3 to have it, so that one player won't kind of instinctively use it as a bartering chip or it's secret knowledge that they have or whatever. Frequently players won't share with other players, so I want more than one to know it. And that same rule I carry over to attribute checks. I just try not to pivot any kind of campaign on one character. I've done that before, and it turned out disastrously. I mean, the campaign was fun, but every time that one player wasn't there, it caused problems. So I've shifted away from that, and the same thing with these attribute checks. If it's something key to the game, maybe a riddle, maybe a trap, something that several of the characters can decipher or weave their way around. But even that, you run the risk if they all fail the attribute check, right? You've got a problem. Now, if you've got more, then surely 1 and 3 are going to make it. Surely someone's going to roll decently at some point. But yeah, that's one of those things. I try to avoid that because I've been down that road. I've been on that road, Chad, and it didn't end. It didn't end how I wanted it to end. It just ended. And you end up doing something stupid to give the information to them or to get the game going again. And it has that taste of the dream sequence we talked about earlier. It doesn't feel right. If they didn't figure it out or come to it through whatever, it just doesn't feel right. So I try to either make it easy, but definitely spread the love out. Yeah, Big Danger, I'd love it. Tim and I have talked about it quite a while. I would absolutely love to have every book that we've got with the new bookmarks that we're working on and all that crap on there so that people can access everything. And then just the whole 9 yards. Fail check takes longer than you thought or gets the attention of an adversary or breaks the tools used for the task. Yeah, that's not a bad idea, DM. If you can do it that way, then definitely that way they can go get the tool again and try again, and that's good. Anything that gets you away from locking the game up, because an attribute, a do or die attribute check will lock it up. I would caution against the TLG tablet, as there are plenty of devices and digital library solutions available. Use something already built that fits your model and save money time. That's a good point, 42. But one of the things that we have thought in looking at this is it's just a way for your whole library. You just purchase the library from our shop and we ship it to you. And then as you buy PDFs, you load them up onto it. And it just kind of bypasses that whole thing. This is just, the idea is it comes in a case with a logo on it, the Castles and Crusades logo, with the dragon and I need a name for that logo, and with the dragon and the skull and all that stuff. We've talked about it quite a bit. Yes, I believe I'll be going to GaryCon. There's a virtual one here in a couple of weeks that I'm doing something with. I have no idea what. But I've told Luke that if he needs me, if they're boots on the ground in March for GaryCon, I'll definitely be there. Count me in. We'll do the booth, the whole 9 yards, whatever we're doing. Yeah, I will definitely be there. Virtual Wizard, yes, complications instead of outright failure are always better. Yes, it just is a good way. Yep, they still succeed, but they lost something, either time or tools or safety. Yep, get it. All right, so let us dive into, if you're going to be there, Green, definitely come by the booth. I'm not sure what the mask requirement's going to be. Those things drive me absolutely bonkers. I know it's just a mask, don't care, blah, blah. Drives me bonkers. All right, so let's, but I'll be, if Luke requires it, I'll be in one. It's not my venue, it's his. If I'm going to be there, I'm his guest. So I'll behave accordingly. Good deal. Yeah, definitely swing by the booth. It'll be me, Chuck, and Tim at least. Chuck may not be there. I don't know. We'll have to determine Chuck's risk factor and all that. I've got some very definitive opinions about the pandemic and all that's going on. We'll revisit that as time progresses. All right, so let's dive into number 3, right? What are we at? Setting the stage. What was this one? Setting, publishing, otherwise. Oh, yeah, so this really ties right into number 1. Clearly, I had a thought process going on when I was writing these things. When you're doing your setting, don't lay the whole thing out. Don't make it all about them. The setting is the stage. This is the terminology I use. The setting is the stage upon which the game is playing. So don't make the setting the actual game. Make that just the stage. And it's just something you're going to describe, you're going to use as backdrop, you're going to use to propel them forward or give them access to whatever, avenues of your imagination that you want them to wander down. That's really what the setting's job is. That doesn't mean you don't detail it. You certainly have to detail it. You should detail it. You don't have to, but you should detail it. You should put all of the, the blood, sweat, and tears that you want into it, and then let them explore it as they go. But at the end of the day, for the role-playing game itself, for the table that you're sitting at, it's just the stage upon which everybody is playing. So try to kind of don't let your setting dominate the game. Let the players dominate the game. That's what I was talking about there. Since we're burning through time, I'm going to dive right into number 4. So this is probably, I get a lot of flack for this one, for this commentary about dice. There seems to be two pretty solid camps about dice. I always roll dice behind the screens. I don't ever roll dice out for, I shouldn't say never, maybe once in every 50 games, I'll put something out and let it, this is what happens, and I roll the dice. Otherwise, those dice are behind the screen. I don't want them dice. I don't want those dice to run the game. I don't want a chance to change everything. What I want to be able to is control the story as best I can. I can't control their dice other than giving them bonuses or, a weaker, the monster a weaker or greater armor class or whatever it is that you need to do. But behind the screens, as soon as you've walled that off, the story is yours to control. The dice aren't controlling it anymore. If you've got those screens down or you're rolling in front of everybody and you roll that natural 20, you rolled a natural 20, you just killed the character. There's nothing you can do about that. So the whole game may come unsprung. Otherwise, the other side is if you're behind the screen and you roll that natural 20, you can easily bump it down to nothing. You missed entirely. Or do like I do, destroy equipment. Something other than killing the character. So the dice really, I'm just not a big, I love dice, I love rolling dice, but I'm not a fan of them running my game. It's a story that I'm trying to tell, really that I'm trying to help these people navigate through, and I don't want the dice to change all that. It's way too much risk in it. Right? Fuck them dice. Yeah, there you go. Always dice behind the screen, that gives the DM power of story versus change. Yep, that's just it. Chained to chance. And once you're chained to chance, it's a great way of putting it, though I can't say it very well. You're done, right? They've determined what's going on. I get a lot of flack for this. It's very funny. I get quite a bit of commentary when I talk about this in whether GM Stretch the Trade or wherever. I think I did one of the GMTTs about rolling behind your screens. And we got quite a few emails back about how it's not this. And then there's a couple of YouTube videos about how you should never use screens, and screens are part of the old gaming experience. And it has nothing to do with old versus new or any of that crap. It's literally just, are you going to control this story, or is chance going to control the story? That's what it boils down to. My combat dice, attacks, and damage are all in front of the screen. Yeah, see, now I won't do that. I won't roll anything outside of the screen. Players should not be sure if their PC failed, but how much they failed, or if they failed through the dice. They said they made it due to some mitigating factor. It's just, for me, I want to control it. I want to control the story. So, and frequently, and Davis pointed this out to me years ago, the problem with 20 orcs attacking 4 characters is the chances of those orcs rolling a natural 20 is far greater than the characters rolling a natural 20. So odds are it's going to go bad for them if they're all first level, that type of crap. So it's just one of those things. I'm a big proponent of screens, big proponent of not letting the dice run the game for you. As long as the purpose is fun, then the GM can fudge as much as he likes. The players don't have that right, though. No, they don't. The players shouldn't be fudging. That's where the chance comes in, right? And it's not completely chance, depending on how the player builds their character, what kind of equipment they buy, what kind of weapons they buy, where they place their attributes, what kind of magic they have, what kind of magic they keep, what kind of magic they get rid of. There's lots of things players can do to build their characters to mitigate chance. If they want to be super strong, they should get a better armor class. They should have better weapons, this type of stuff. They can mitigate it somewhat. It's not a complete crapshoot, but it is one of those things. Let's see. I don't want them to see stealth rolls and such, but attacks and damage are all by luck. That's what DM is saying. He rolls on the outside of the screens for damage and attack rolls. He wants that to be all luck. 42. Maybe you need to think of this and give it a try. It's interesting. Here's the thing. Do what you want to do with the dice to share a story with your friends and create fun. People get really excited about this, and I don't get it personally. It's like that movie you just yeah, exactly. you can do both. My DM clearly is having a good time doing both. You don't have to do it one way or the other. For me, I prefer to keep everything behind the screen. But if you don't, that's fine. But just understand that the dice are going to control, like DM literally just said, and DM Samuel did. The dice it's luck. It's a lot of what happens on his battlefield is luck. And he wants it that way for the stream, and it works for his group. So absolutely, he should do it. And 42's probably got the right attitude. Give it a try. I've tried it. I didn't like it years ago. What is that movie though, Rhino? I can't. The Hunt? Is it The Hunt? I can't remember what that thing's called. It's violent, so if you don't like violent movies, shy away. It's pretty violent. And actually, what made me think of it is the traps. Nah, it's not The Hunt. I don't know what the hell the damn thing's called. But what made me actually think of it is there's a trap in it where one of the characters falls into the trap and she just gets spikes up into it. And I thought, well, that's just an ignoble end to that to that character. Very quick and ignoble end to that character. Never let the truth get in the way of a good story. There you go. I'm not sure which one of you said it, but that works for me. There you go. Hopefully, with the moral of the story is don't hunt. No, that wasn't it. Interestingly enough, well, it sort of is because they end up. I don't want to give too much away, but they end up hunting someone that's better than they. But really, the whole thing, you got to watch it to the end. When the bad guy and the good guy, and it's two women, fight it out, and they actually talk some, and the whole kind of what happened is unraveled. And it basically the basic theme of the whole movie is everyone on the left and everyone on the right overreacts. And I thought, well, that's probably very true. So, what is the name of that damn thing? Okay, wait, here's an image from it. Maybe it is The Hunt. Okay, I got the actress here. Yeah, it's The Hunt. Oh, where do they have that dumbasses? Anyways, yeah, check it. Yeah, it's called The Hunt. I don't know if it's on Netflix. I can't remember where I saw it. I don't know what I saw. But, yeah, definitely check that one out. It's a good movie. I like really violent movies, so I like a lot of revenge flicks. So I watch a lot of that stuff. Just good things. All right, so I think we were jibber-jabbering about dice. Oh, yeah, so the last one, the last trick of the trade, and this, our second ever Jim's Tricks of the Trade, was one of my things I love to do best. This is really built for high-level parties. I do this a lot. It's a lot of fun. And when you've got, it's called a spoiling attack, and basically what I do is I'll throw low hit dice monsters against a high-level party 2 or 3 times before they get anywhere, before they get to whatever they're doing. And it serves a couple of purposes. One, it whets their appetite for battle, and it creates that Conan-esque atmosphere where they're just carving through kobolds or goblins or whatever it is, willy-nilly, and their enemies are getting slaughtered, and it gets the players pumped up, it gets everybody excited. But, more importantly, from a GM's perspective, it wastes their abilities. If you do these spoiling attacks in the same day that they're going to encounter whatever it is that you've got planned, you're going to soak up magic spells and magic items that have single day uses or whatever the hell. And it's really fun to watch them kind of cut through their heavy hitting spells, fighting 100 kobolds, and then later they run into whatever 12 storm giants. Not storm giants. That'd be a lot of storm giants. Fire giants. There you go. And then suddenly they don't have these spells that that they kind of regret. I've done it time and time again. They sometimes catch on. Frequently, even when they catch on, they get angry at something and pull that Bismarck out. Giant ants. There you go. Pull the Bismarck guns out and blows things to pieces. And it's fun then to watch. There's multiple things here that will suddenly start happening. Your players who have used their fireballs and lightning bolts and delayed blasts and whatever the heck, wall of stone, they suddenly only have spells like ventriloquism and whatever the crap they've got. And they've got to figure out how to use those spells effectively to change the big bad combat or whatever encounter that you're playing. And then that makes that encounter far more memorable and far more fun because they're not just... It's one of those things about these spells, Ice Storm, Fireball, Lightning Bolt, Delayed Blast, Fireball, they're all the exact same spell. There's no difference between one and the other than a little bit of range and area of effect, right? They're all... It's frozen water or burning oxygen. It's the same thing. It does the same damage, blah, blah, blah. But what the magic for me gets really cool and really fun when that player, whether they're playing an illusionist, a wizard, a warlock, a sorcerer, a druid, whatever game you're playing, they've got to really delve into their other spells, that second wave of spells, and use those in whatever capacity. So I absolutely love spoiling attacks. It kind of grinds them away a little bit, eats up some of those obnoxious spells. And it also just makes it, it pumps up. There's so many good things come out of it because it pumps up the characters because they've slaughtered so many of their enemies. It's just good stuff all the way around. So use lots and lots of low hit dice monsters, whatever those happen to be. Abuse it, fireball. I love doing this with new groups so they learn to conserve. Yeah, they learn quick. But you know, Johnny, even veteran players will get agitated at these waves of obnoxious giant ants or whatever, and suddenly they'll just, I'm done with this. They use the wall of iron. They stop the stupid ants. Not that would stop ants, but they use whatever spell it is, and then 2 hours later, they suddenly wish they had that spell because they got aggravated. And that's kind of fun. It's kind of nice to do. Wait, abuse a fireball? Is there any abuse? I thought it fits all. I swear to God, that's even weddings and funerals if you get creative. That spell gets used. Well, that magic missile, right? Because magic missile doesn't miss. Of course, it's just a single use, right? Can you spread magic missile out? Yeah. You can spread magic missile out. Yeah, that and sleep. Sleep drives me bonkers too. But fireball gets used a lot. But there's actually, I've got two really good players. Of course, years and years of playing. They use a lot of the odd spells, which is cool. And that just makes it more fun for me because I don't know what the spells do. I'm not familiar enough with them. I know that it's not a game changing, or it might be, but it's not a slaughter fest on the monsters, and I got to sit there figuring out where all the stupid orcs are or whatever. I like different stuff. I like anything at the table that's just a little different than the norm. I like that in movies. I watch TV shows, anything that's just a little bit different. I tell this story all the time. When The Terminator, the original movie, came out, I love that movie. It was, 81, 82? I don't know. I'm 15 or 16, 17, whatever. Fantastic movie. Just really all of it. Just up and down. All a good movie. And I sat down a couple of years later, and I watched it with my dad. And we're at I remember it very distinctly. He doesn't watch movies often because he can figure them out. And in the scene where the car, where they're being chased by the police, and John and Sarah are in the car, and they crash into the wall, and all that happens. I think Arnie's there, and he crashes into the wall and goes through the window or something, whatever. That's, my dad goes, oh, so John is the mother, or this guy's the mother of John Connor. Got it. And he got up and left. And I thought, what the, damn it. He figured the whole thing out. And that same thing is what I want to avoid. I'm about his age now. He was then. He was a little younger than that. But you're a little younger then than I am now. But anything different, whether it's movies, TVs, comics, I don't give a crap what it is. Just something different. And that's what I like with spells, because spells are so very, very different. I mean, there's so many of them, and they have so many usages, especially if you're a GM and you kind of, Katie bar the door, you let the spells have a greater impact than perhaps they say in the rules, then it can be even more enjoyable. So wasting their big spells can be a lot of fun. Don't undersell that to yourself. There was a blog book called What the Monsters Know that really sold me on tactics for the low hit dice monsters. One of the principles presented is that the smarter monsters will understand the rules of the game and will play accordingly. Well, that's another thing that GMs probably, I was about to say few GMs do, but I don't know that. Maybe a lot do. You should remember that these creatures they can learn, they have brains, they can learn from past experiences. So they certainly, some of them might be better experienced at fighting players and bring that to the table. They're going to have the ability to do something other than just madcap rush forward, unless it's zombies or skeletons. Tips for players in Steve's Twitch game. Yeah, there you go. Watch out for the spoiling attack. It would be infuriating if one of those kobolds found a scroll of counterspell. That'd be awesome. Hey, you need an entombed tome. What is coming? Entomb and tome are banned from Troller games. I can't take it anymore. All right, well, that's it. That's our 5 tricks of the trade. Commander Pete killed the stream with his entombed tome of spells. For those of you who are maybe new to the stream or just kind of meeting me for the first time, we've got a book called Tome of the Unclean, and I can never remember the title of it. I call it Tomb of the Unclean. And now we've got a book called Tomb of the River King. I'm constantly calling it Tome of the River King. It's too much for my tiny brain. So So I've banned Tome and Doom from titles from now on. Just anything other than that. So at any rate, let's if you haven't, give us a follow, please. And thank you all for showing up. No game this weekend. Chuck normally runs a game on Saturdays. That won't be happening. I'll be back next Tuesday at 4 o'clock for Ask Me Anything. And then we've got Haunted Holler Paintings at next Wednesday at 7 p.m. And then I will be back here for Jim's Tricks of the Trade. We'll have a new one next week. I had the title. Next week's is Starting New Players. So that'll be next week's subject. So definitely come back next Thursday at 4 and join us. Thank you all for coming out tonight. We sure appreciate it. It's time to get some dinner, I think. How is it going with the specialized tome of spellology with ample consideration of components and gesticulations, plus appendices with additional minutiae? We've really got to do that book. we really got to do that book. Now that, I'm going to copy that, Mark. How do I copy that? Damn it. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to steal that, Mark. Now I'll give you accreditation. I'm going to put that somewhere. I swear to God, I'm going to put that in something. That's definitely going to be a book. A book inside a book, maybe, is what we'll do. All right, everybody. Thanks, Chad, for coming out. Thanks, Mark, Rhino Greenlington, DM Samuel, everybody. Thank you all, and we will see you next Tuesday at 4 o'clock. You all have a great rest of your week, and have a wonderful weekend.